Your inability to focus is not a personality flaw. It is not a motivation problem. It is not because you're lazy or broken. It is the predictable result of living in constant noise. This audiobook is not about managing distraction. It is about eliminating it at the root. You're going to learn how to reset your attention, rebuild mental discipline, and train your mind to stay with one task, without force, without hacks, without willpower. If you follow what you hear, your focus will return. If you ignore it, your attention will continue to decay. This is the Attention Detox. Chapter 1. Stop trusting motivation. Motivation is not a tool. It is a feeling. Feelings fluctuate. Systems do not. If you are waiting to feel ready, you are already losing. If you are waiting to feel inspired, you are already distracted. That's the key. Most people believe focus begins with motivation. That belief is the problem. Motivation comes and goes. Attention decays when it does. You have a choice. You can build your life around a feeling, or you can build it around a structure. One of these survives resistance. The other collapses the moment effort is required. If your focus depends on motivation, you will lose at the moment resistance appears. Motivation depends on emotional energy. Emotional energy is unstable. Sleep affects it. Food affects it. Stress affects it. Validation affects it. Noise affects it. You cannot build a disciplined mind on a variable input. That's not philosophy. That's engineering. Focus must operate when you feel nothing. Not when you feel good. Not when you feel inspired. Not when conditions are ideal. When you feel nothing. That is the standard. Look at how most people work. They wait for a surge. They wait for mood. They wait for clarity. Then they act. This creates bursts. Short-lived effort. Intense but brief. A motivated weekend. A productive morning. A focused hour that feels impressive. Then the feeling disappears. And the system collapses. Nothing resumes until the next emotional wave arrives. That is not discipline. That is dependency. And dependency always weakens attention. You don't need their permission. Not from your emotions. Not from your mood. Not from your internal state. The mind must be trained to act without negotiation. That's the key. High-functioning focus does not ask, "Do I feel like this?" It asks, "Is this the system?" Real progress looks boring. It looks repetitive. It looks unremarkable. It looks like starting at the same time every day, in the same place, with the same rules. No emotional buildup, no dramatic push, no internal conversation, just execution. Consider two people. The first waits for motivation. When it arrives, they work intensely for 3 hours. They feel accomplished. They feel satisfied. Then they stop. They reward themselves. They break the pattern. Days pass. The next session depends on another emotional surge. The second person starts at the same time every day. They work for 45 minutes. They stop on schedule. They repeat. No highs, no lows, just consistency. After 30 days, the second person has done more work. Not because they tried harder, but because their system removed emotion from the equation. That's the key. It's not about intensity. It's about repeatability. You don't build focus by pushing harder. You build it by making action automatic. Motivation feels powerful because it masks friction, but friction is the training. When you remove friction with emotion, you remove the stimulus that builds discipline. You want focus that survives boredom. You want focus that survives fatigue. You want focus that survives indifference. That requires rules. Rule 1. Start without checking how you feel. No internal assessment. No emotional scan. If it is time, you begin. Rule 2. Limit duration. Short sessions reduce resistance. Resistance is what motivation cannot survive. Rule 3. End on schedule. This builds trust in the system, not in your feelings. You have a choice. You can trust emotion, or you can trust structure. only one of these compounds. Most people quit because they believe something is wrong when motivation disappears. Nothing is wrong. That is the expected condition. The mind resists effort by design. Your job is not to eliminate resistance. Your job is to act despite it. That's the key. It's not about passion. It's about obedience to a system. It's not about drive. It's about repetition. It's not about feeling focused. It's about behaving as if focus is required. The mind adapts to behavior, not intentions. When you act without motivation, you teach the mind a rule. Action does not require emotional permission. That rule changes everything. Focus stops being fragile. It stops depending on mood. It becomes stable. This is why silence matters. Not as a preference, as a training condition. Noise amplifies emotion. Silence exposes resistance. And resistance is where discipline is built. You don't need their permission. Not from notifications. Not from impulses. Not from urges. The system decides. Every time you start without motivation, you strengthen attention. Every time you wait to feel ready, you weaken it. That's the trade. If your focus depends on motivation, you will lose at the moment resistance appears. This is not a mindset shift. It is a behavioral correction. You do not think your way into focus. You act your way into it. Systems create predictability. Predictability creates trust. Trust creates consistency. Consistency creates focus. That is the order. Do not reverse it. In the next chapter, you will learn why silence is not optional, why noise keeps you dependent on emotion, and why intentional silence is the fastest way to detach action from feeling. That's where discipline begins. Chapter 2. Silence is a skill, not a preference. Silence is not a personality trait. It is not something you either like or dislike. It is not a comfort choice. Silence is a discipline. Most people misunderstand this. They think silence is passive. They think silence is the absence of sound. That misunderstanding keeps their attention weak. Silence is active. Silence is deliberate. Silence is trained. Noise weakens attention. Silence rebuilds it. Your nervous system is always adapting. It adapts to what you expose it to. Constant input trains constant reactivity. Messages, music, videos, background audio, idle scrolling. None of this is neutral. All of it conditions the mind. You have a choice. You could train your nervous system to expect stimulation, or you can train it to tolerate stillness. Only one of these produces focus. Noise creates dependency. Silence creates capacity. That's the key. When the mind is constantly fed input, it loses the ability to stay with one thing. Not because it is weak, because it has been trained otherwise. The modern environment rewards noise. It encourages constant engagement. It frames silence as empty time. This is incorrect. Silence is where attention recovers. Silence is where mental endurance is rebuilt. Noise weakens attention. Silence rebuilds it. Look at how people fill gaps. Waiting in line, walking down the street, sitting alone. The phone comes out. The audio turns on. The mind is occupied immediately. This is not harmless. This is training. Every time you eliminate silence, you reinforce a rule. Stillness is intolerable. That rule destroys focus. Focus requires the ability to stay present without stimulation, without novelty, without constant reward. Silence exposes discomfort. That discomfort is not a problem. That discomfort is the training stimulus. You don't need their permission. Not for boredom, not from restlessness, not from the urge to check something. You remain. That's the key. Silence retrains the nervous system by removing excess signals. Heart rate slows. Mental noise settles. Attention stops fragmenting. But this does not happen automatically. It happens through repeated exposure. Just like strength training. One session does nothing. Consistency changes everything. Rule 1. Remove background noise during focused work. No music, no podcasts, no ambient sound. If the task requires thinking, it requires silence. Rule 2. Eliminate idle input. No scrolling between tasks. No filling gaps with content. Gaps are not empty. They are recovery periods for attention. Rule 3. Schedule silent time. Not as relaxation, as conditioning. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. No stimulation. Just presence. Most people avoid silence because it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the signal. That's the key. Silence reveals how dependent the mind has become on input. It shows you the baseline state of your attention. At first, the mind resists. Thoughts race. Impulses spike. This is expected. You are not failing. You are detoxing. Noise weakens attention. Silence rebuilds it. Consider the difference between two work environments. In the first, there is constant sound. Music playing. Notifications chiming. Videos running in the background. The mind switches constantly. It feels busy. It feels stimulated. But depth never forms. In the second, there is silence. One task. No input. At first, it feels slow. Then uncomfortable. Then clear. Depth appears only after the noise settles. That delay is what most people cannot tolerate. So they reintroduce stimulation and reset the process. Silence must be protected, not negotiated. It is not about preference. It is about function. It's not about calm. It's about control. Silence restores your ability to direct attention instead of reacting. That's the key. Your mind cannot focus deeply if it is constantly pulled outward. Silence pulls attention back inward. This is why silence feels threatening at first. It removes distractions that were masking internal resistance. Again, that resistance is not the enemy. It is the training ground. You don't need their permission. Not from discomfort. Not from the urge to escape. You stay. Over time, the nervous system adapts. Silence becomes tolerable, then neutral, then productive. This is how baseline attention is restored. Baseline attention is what remains when nothing is happening. Most people have none. Their attention only exists when stimulated. Remove the stimulation and focus collapses. Silence rebuilds baseline attention. Noise weakens attention. Silence rebuilds it. This is why silence must come before technique, before optimization, before tools. If the nervous system is overstimulated, no productivity method will hold. Silence stabilizes the system. Once stabilized, focus can be trained. Without silence, everything is fragile. You have a choice. You can continue numbing discomfort with noise, or you can condition yourself to function without it. One path leads to dependence. The other leads to control. That's the key. In the next chapter, you will see how your attention is being trained every day, whether you intend it or not. Why small habits matter more than long sessions, and how daily behavior sets your default level of focus. Silence prepares you for that work. Chapter 3. Your attention is being trained every day. Attention is not neutral. It is not static. It is not something you either have or do not have. Attention is conditioned. Every day, your behavior trains it. Not occasionally, not intentionally, constantly. What you practice daily becomes your default state. Most people believe attention problems appear randomly. They do not. They are earned. The mind adapts to what it is asked to do. If it is asked to switch constantly, it becomes a switcher. If it is asked to react instantly, it becomes reactive. If it is asked to stay, it learns endurance. You have a choice. You can train attention deliberately, or you can let your habits train it for you. One of these leads to control. The other leads to fragmentation. That's the key. Look at your day. How often do you check your phone without intention? How often do you respond immediately to messages? How often do you jump between tasks? None of this is accidental. Each instance is a repetition. Each repetition is a lesson. The lesson sounds like this: switch now. React now. Stay shallow. The mind listens. What you practice daily becomes your default state. Multitasking is not efficiency. It is training in divided attention. Every time you split focus, you teach the mind that depth is optional. Every time you interrupt yourself, you reinforce that interruption is normal. This does not stay at work. It spreads. The mind does not compartmentalize attention training. It generalizes it. A distracted day creates a distracted mind. A focused day creates a focused mind. That's the key. Consider the habit of instant response. A notification appears. You check it immediately. No assessment. No delay. This trains urgency, not importance. The mind learns that external signals override internal intention. Over time, attention weakens, not because you are incapable, because you have practiced obedience to interruption. You don't need their permission, not from alerts, not from messages, not from other people's urgency. You decide when attention moves. Rule 1, delay response. Even by minutes. Delay is not avoidance. It is training. Rule 2, finish the current task before switching. Completion trains closure. Switching trains fragmentation. Rule 3, batch reactive activities. Messages, email, requests. Contain them. Do not let them leak into focus time. What you practice daily becomes your default state. Look at how people consume information. Short clips, quick headlines, endless feeds. This trains the mind to expect novelty every few seconds. Then they sit down to work. The mind resists, not because the work is hard, because the training contradicts the demand. You cannot feed the mind fragmentation and expect depth on command. That's the key. Attention has momentum. It moves where it has been trained to move. Daily habits create grooves. The mind follows them automatically. This is why willpower fails. Willpower fights conditioning. Systems replace it. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your training. Training happens in small moments. The choice to check, the choice to delay, the choice to stay. These are not trivial. They are formative. You have a choice. You can allow attention to scatter, or you can narrow it deliberately. Narrowing feels restrictive at first. That feeling is withdrawal. Again, not a problem. A signal. What you practice daily becomes your default state. To rebuild attention, you must reverse the training. Single tasking becomes the rule, not the exception. One screen, one task, one intention, no background input, no parallel consumption. This feels slower. It is not. It is more efficient because it preserves cognitive energy. Rule 4. Start and end tasks intentionally. No drifting in, no drifting out. Boundaries create clarity. Rule 5. Notice impulses without acting on them. The urge to check is not an order. It is a test. You pass the test by staying. That's the key. The mind learns from what you tolerate. If you tolerate interruption, it becomes your norm. If you tolerate stillness, it becomes your base. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. You are either training attention or you're training distraction. There is no neutral. You don't need their permission. Not from habits you inherited. Not from behaviors you normalized. You can retrain the system. Daily. Small decisions. Repeated. That is how defaults change. In the next chapter, you will learn why removing is more powerful than adding. Why subtraction restores clarity faster than optimization. And why focus returns when you eliminate what weakens it. Training comes first. Chapter 4. Remove before you add. Most people respond to distraction by adding. Another app, another system, another technique. This is backward. Focus is not built by accumulation. It is restored by subtraction. Focus returns faster when you remove, not when you optimize. The modern mind is overloaded, not under-equipped. It does not need more tools. It needs fewer inputs. You have a choice. You can continue adding complexity, or you can remove what is weakening attention. Only one of these works under pressure. That's the key. Optimization assumes the system is healthy. It is not. When attention is fragmented, adding tools increases cognitive load. Every new method requires attention to manage. Every new app introduces decisions. Decisions drain focus. Clarity comes from constraint. Look at how people try to fix distraction. They download a focus app while keeping notifications on. They create a task system while overcommitting their schedule. They read productivity advice while consuming endless content. Nothing changes because nothing was removed. Focus returns faster when you remove, not when you optimize. Subtraction works immediately because it reduces signals. Fewer signals mean fewer reactions. Fewer reactions mean more control. This is not theory. It is observable. Remove background noise and thinking sharpens. Remove notifications and attention stabilizes. Remove excess commitments and mental space returns. No learning curve. No setup time. Just relief. That's the key. Consider the difference between 2 workdays. In the first, you have 10 tools, multiple apps, multiple channels, multiple obligations. You spend the day managing the system, switching contexts, checking inputs. In the second, you remove half of them. Fewer platforms, clear boundaries, limited scope. The work feels lighter, not because it is easier, because attention is no longer divided. Focus returns faster when you remove, not when you optimize. The mind can only hold so much. Every additional input competes for attention. This includes commitments. Overcommitment is a form of noise. Every promise creates mental residue. Unfinished obligations pull attention even when you are not working on them. You don't need their permission. Not to say no, not to narrow your scope. Rule 1. Eliminate non-essential inputs. Notifications, feeds, background content. If it is not directly supporting your current objective, it goes. Rule 2. Reduce choices. Fixed routines. Fixed times. Fixed locations. Choice feels like freedom. Too much choice destroys focus. Rule 3. Cut commitments before improving execution. Do less, then do it well. That's the key. People resist removal because it feels like loss. It is not. It is recovery. When you remove distractions, you are not limiting yourself. You are reclaiming capacity. The mind relaxes when options narrow. Attention strengthens when the field is clear. This is why minimal environments produce deeper work. Not because they are aesthetic, because they remove competing signals. Focus returns faster when you remove, not when you optimize. Look at your digital environment. How many tabs are open? How many apps are active? How many channels demand attention? None of this is necessary. It is habitual. Habitual clutter creates habitual distraction. You have a choice. You can maintain clutter because it feels familiar, or you can remove it and endure temporary discomfort. That discomfort is adjustment. Again, not a problem, a signal. The same applies to information. You do not need constant input to think clearly. Excess information weakens judgment. Rule 4. Reduce consumption before increasing production. Less reading, less watching, more doing. Information is only useful when applied. Otherwise, it is noise. That's the key. Subtraction also applies to goals. Too many goals divide attention. Divided attention produces shallow progress. One priority sharpens focus. Multiple priorities dilute it. Rule 5. Choose one primary focus per season. Everything else supports it or waits. This is not limitation. It is alignment. Focus returns faster when you remove, not when you optimize. People ask for better systems while protecting distractions. This never works. You cannot out-organize a noisy life. You cannot outplan constant interruption. The environment must be simplified first. Then systems work. Then routines hold. Then discipline compounds. You don't need their permission. Not from your past commitments. Not from other people's expectations. You decide what stays. Removal is decisive. It requires clarity. Ask simple questions. Does this input strengthen focus or weaken it? Does this commitment align or distract? Does this tool reduce friction or add it? If the answer is no, it goes. That's the key. Most clarity problems are removal problems. Most focus problems are noise problems. Solve those first. Do not add until the system is quiet. In the next chapter, you will learn how to replace chaos with non-negotiable routines, how structure removes decision fatigue, and why fixed patterns are the foundation of sustained attention. Removal creates space. Structure fills it. Chapter 5. Build non-negotiable routines. Discipline fails when it lives in the mind. It succeeds when it lives in the environment. Routines are not habits. They are external rules. Structure frees the mind by removing choice. Most people try to force consistency through internal effort. They negotiate with themselves. They decide again and again. This creates fatigue. Decision fatigue erodes focus faster than difficulty. Every choice drains attention. Every debate weakens follow-through. You have a choice. You can rely on internal resolve, or you can install external structure. Only one scales. That's the key. A non-negotiable routine does not ask how you feel. It does not adapt to mood. It does not wait for readiness. It executes. The power of routine is not in repetition alone. It is in predictability. Predictability removes friction. Friction consumes attention. Consider a fixed start time. When work begins at a different time each day, the mind resists. It anticipates uncertainty. It delays. When the start time is fixed, resistance decreases. There is nothing to decide. The clock decides. Structure frees the mind by removing choice. Now, consider the environment. Working in multiple locations increases cognitive load. Each space has different cues, different distractions. A fixed environment trains the mind to enter focus automatically. Same place, same setup, same tools. No adjustment period. That's the key. Look at two approaches. In the first, someone plans their day dynamically. They adjust based on energy. They move tasks around. It feels flexible. It feels intelligent. It is exhausting. In the second, someone follows a fixed routine. Same sequence, same timing. No optimization, no rearranging. The mind relaxes. Attention stabilizes. Structure frees the mind by removing choice. This is not rigidity. It is efficiency. The mind performs best when variables are limited. Rules create boundaries. Boundaries create freedom. Rule 1. Fix your start time. Every day. No exceptions. Late starts train inconsistency. Consistency trains focus. Rule 2. Fix your environment. One primary location for focused work. No rotation. Rule 3. Fix the order of tasks. Sequence matters. The mind anticipates what comes next. Anticipation reduces resistance. That's the key. People avoid routines because they fear boredom. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the absence of stimulation. That absence allows depth. Routines remove novelty. Novelty is what distracts. Focus thrives in familiar conditions. Structure frees the mind by removing choice. Consider how athletes train. They do not decide each day how to warm up. They do not improvise fundamentals. They follow routines. This is not creativity suppression. It is capacity building. The same applies to cognitive work. The more fixed the structure, the more energy remains for thinking. You don't need their permission, not from your preferences, not from your desire for variety. You follow the routine because it works. Rule 4. Keep routines short and repeatable. Length invites resistance. Short routines sustain consistency. Rule 5. Protect the routine from intrusion. No interruptions. No substitutions. A compromised routine trains compromise. That's the key. Structure also regulates energy. When work has clear boundaries, rest becomes intentional. This prevents burnout. Unstructured work bleeds into everything. Attention never recovers. Routines create closure. Closure restores attention. Structure frees the mind by removing choice. This is how internal struggle disappears. When the system is clear, the mind stops arguing. No debate, no negotiation. Action becomes automatic. This is not about control for its own sake. It is about preserving attention. Attention is fragile when decisions are constant. It is stable when structure is fixed. You have a choice. You can manage your day mentally, or you can let structure manage it for you. One exhausts you. The other supports you. That's the key. In the next chapter, you will learn how to train focus like a muscle. Why duration matters less than repetition, and how small, controlled sessions build mental endurance over time. Structure creates the container. Training fills it. Chapter 6. Train focus like a muscle. Focus is not a personality trait. It is not intelligence. It is not talent. Focus is capacity, and capacity is trained. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. Most people approach focus the way amateurs approach fitness. They wait. They overexert. They burn out. They attempt long sessions when the capacity is not there. They rely on adrenaline. They push past limits. This feels productive. It is not. Intensity without repetition does not build capacity. It depletes it. That's the key. A muscle grows through controlled load, consistent resistance, adequate recovery. Focus works the same way. You do not train it by forcing marathon sessions. You train it by showing up daily for manageable effort. You have a choice. You can chase dramatic sessions, or you can build quiet strength. Only one compounds. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. Consider how most people try to get serious. They block out an entire afternoon. They sit down determined. For the first hour, they struggle. For the second, they fragment. By the third, they avoid. The mind associates focus with exhaustion. Resistance increases next time. This is poor training. Good training leaves capacity intact. It ends before collapse. That's the key. Focus improves when the mind learns a simple rule. This effort is survivable. Time-focused blocks create that rule. A fixed duration, clear start, clear end. The mind relaxes when it knows there is an end point. Rule 1. Use short focus blocks. 25 minutes, 30 minutes, not more. If the mind knows it must endure indefinitely, it resists. If it knows the boundary, it cooperates. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. Now consider rest. Most people treat rest as a reward, or as an afterthought. Rest is part of training. Without rest, focus degrades. With intentional rest, capacity increases. Rule 2. Rest deliberately between blocks. Stand up. Move. No input. Rest is not scrolling. Scrolling is stimulation. Stimulation prevents recovery. That's the key. Focus requires contrast, effort, then rest. When both are controlled, capacity grows. Now consider progression. You do not increase focus by doubling duration suddenly. That causes strain. You increase gradually. Rule 3. Extend duration slowly. 5 minutes at a time. After consistency is established, this trains endurance without triggering resistance. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. Look at how professionals work. They do not grind endlessly. They cycle effort. They respect limits. Limits are not weakness. They are design constraints. Design constraints produce reliability. You don't need their permission. Not from ambition. Not from ego. You are training capacity, not proving toughness. That's the key. Another mistake people make is inconsistency. They focus intensely one day, then skip 3. This resets adaptation. Training requires frequency. Rule 4. Train focus daily. Even briefly. 5 focused minutes daily beats 1 intense session weekly. What you practice daily becomes your default state. This applies here. Focus adapts to frequency, not drama. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. Now consider distraction during training. Every time you break a focus block early, you teach the mind an escape pattern. Rule 5. Stay until the timer ends. No exceptions. If you leave early, you train avoidance. If you stay, you train endurance. The mind learns what is allowed. That's the key. Training focus also requires clear criteria. You must know what counts as success. Success is not how much you complete. It is whether you stayed. Completion is variable. Staying is controllable. Rule 6. Measure adherence, not output. Did you sit for the full block? Did you maintain one task? That is success. This removes pressure. Pressure creates distraction. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. You will notice something over time. At first, the blocks feel long. Thoughts wander. Impulses arise. Then, slowly, resistance decreases. The mind adapts. What once felt demanding becomes normal. This is capacity. This is how focus becomes stable. Not through force, through exposure. You have a choice. You can keep testing your limits, or you can expand them methodically. One builds resilience. The other builds fatigue. That's the key. Focus training also requires boundaries outside the block. If the rest of your day is chaotic, training suffers. This is why structure matters. Fixed times, fixed environments. The system supports the training. Training reinforces the system. They work together. Short, repeatable focus beats heroic effort. People often ask how long it takes to rebuild focus. That is the wrong question. The correct question is, how consistently will you train it? The timeline adapts to behavior. No shortcuts. No hacks. Just repetition. You don't need their permission. Not from impatience. Not from comparison. Your capacity will grow if you respect the process. That's the key. When focus is trained properly, it stops feeling fragile. It stops disappearing under pressure. It becomes available on demand. Not because you force it, because you built it. In the next chapter, you will learn why constant stimulation undermines this training, why dopamine-driven habits reset progress, and why protecting boredom is essential for deep focus. Training builds capacity. Stimulation drains it. You must understand the difference. Chapter 7. The cost of constant stimulation. The mind is not made to move constantly. It is made to process, to consolidate, to endure. Constant stimulation violates this principle. It fragments attention. It reduces tolerance for stillness. Stimulation feels productive, but it silently destroys depth. Most people mistake activity for progress. Scrolling feeds, checking messages, switching between tabs. All of it trains the mind to react instead of focus, to seek novelty instead of sustain effort, to fragment instead of endure. You have a choice. You can chase constant input, or you can tolerate absence. Only one builds mental depth. That's the key. Consider boredom. The average person experiences discomfort when nothing demands attention. They fill it immediately. Noise, social media, alerts. This is not harmless. It is conditioning. Every interruption strengthens shallow thinking. Every moment filled prevents the mind from settling. Stimulation feels productive, but it silently destroys depth. The mind adapts to constant reward. Dopamine spikes become a baseline expectation. The nervous system demands novelty. Resistance to silence grows. Tasks that require prolonged attention feel unbearable. Simple reading feels slow. Problem-solving feels tedious. Reflection feels empty. This is predictable. It is not a failure of will. It is training. You don't need their permission. Not from alerts. Not from notifications. Not from the urge to fill empty moments. Rule 1. Create deliberate gaps of nothing. No input. No distraction. Just presence. Rule 2. Resist boredom actively. Do not avoid it. Observe it. Sit in it. The discomfort is your training signal. Endure it. It builds tolerance. Rule 3. Protect long stretches of undisturbed attention. This is where depth forms. Interruptions are not minor. They reset the system. Consider the workplace. One employee checks messages continuously, responds instantly, switches between projects. Another employee works in long, uninterrupted blocks. They appear slower. They appear less busy. Yet their output is deeper. The first employee feels productive. The second employee produces results. Stimulation tricks perception, not reality. Stimulation feels productive, but it silently destroys depth. Constant input has physiological costs. Mental fatigue accumulates. Decision-making deteriorates. Emotional regulation diminishes. You may feel busy. You may feel engaged. But attention and clarity are eroding silently. This is why training focus is insufficient without protection. You cannot grow depth in a noisy mind. Rule 4. Audit your daily inputs. Ask, does this demand attention or fragment it? If the answer fragments, remove it. Rule 5. Introduce micro-boredom exercises. Walking without audio. Waiting without scrolling. Observing without distraction. These small doses retrain the brain. They rebuild baseline tolerance. Every moment you fill with stimulation is a choice. Every moment you remove it is training. That's the key. Stimulation is seductive because it feels like doing. It produces immediate feedback. It rewards instantly. Depth feels slow. It rewards later. It requires patience. This is why most people avoid it. Because depth demands a different system. Stimulation feels productive, but it silently destroys depth. Your nervous system must relearn how to tolerate stillness. Your attention must relearn how to stay. Your mind must relearn that absence of input is not danger. Rule 6. Treat stillness as a non-negotiable part of training. Do not fill every gap. Do not seek constant reward. Do not surrender to comfort. Small gaps compound. Patience compounds. Attention grows. Consider the long-term cost of ignoring this. Shallow thinking becomes habitual. Ideas become fragmented. Problem-solving capacity diminishes. Stress increases. All because novelty became a crutch. All because boredom was avoided. You have a choice. You can continue seeking constant stimulation, or you can tolerate absence. Only one builds depth. Only one strengthens attention. That's the key. In the next chapter, you will learn how to design your environment to support this work. Why the spaces you occupy dictate attention more than willpower. And why removing distractions before the work begins ensures the mind can sustain focus. Stimulation destroys depth. Silence rebuilds it. Control your environment. Chapter 8. Design your environment to win. Focus is not a trait. It is not something you summon. It is an outcome of your environment. Your environment is either training focus or training distraction. Most people believe focus comes from effort. They think discipline alone will overcome chaos. It does not. The surroundings you occupy dictate attention automatically. Not partially, not sometimes. Completely. Clutter pulls attention. Noise pulls attention. Choices pull attention. The mind reacts to what is present. It cannot ignore it. You have a choice. You can tolerate a chaotic space, or you can design it to support your work. Only one produces consistency. That's the key. Consider physical space. One desk piled with papers, devices, and random objects. Another desk cleared of everything except the task at hand. Where do you think attention goes automatically? Clutter directs the mind. It fragments focus before the work begins. Clear space directs focus. It reduces friction. It signals intent. Rule 1. Remove all non-essential items from your workspace. No decoration that distracts. No gadgets unrelated to the task. No visual noise. Your environment is either training focus or training distraction. Now consider digital space. Open tabs, background apps, notifications on multiple devices. These are not neutral. They are constant stimuli. Every ping trains interruption. Rule 2. Minimize digital inputs during focused work. Close tabs. Mute notifications. Log out of non-essential apps. The mind follows the environment automatically. Even subtle visual cues matter. A cluttered screen, a messy desktop, a chaotic phone, all create friction, all invite distraction. Rule 3. Standardize the workspace. Same desk, same chair, same lighting, same tools. Predictability reduces decision-making. Decision-making consumes attention. Your environment is either training focus or training distraction. Consider 2 examples. One person keeps multiple workspaces. Their desk at home, their laptop at the cafe, their phone constantly accessible. They arrive at each location. They spend time adjusting, getting organized, re-establishing control. Focus is inconsistent. Energy is spent organizing instead of producing. Another person has a fixed environment. One desk, one setup, everything in its place. They arrive. They start. Nothing to negotiate. No distraction to manage. Their mind enters focus automatically. That's the key. Environment is leverage. You cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is finite. Environment is automatic. You don't need their permission. Not from your devices. Not from clutter. Not from habit. You choose what stays. You decide what is removed. You design the space to win. Rule 4. Treat inputs as optional. Every object, app, or signal is a candidate for removal. Keep only what supports your task. Rule 5. Protect your environment rigorously. Do not allow exceptions. Do not tolerate intrusion. The mind follows cues. Every object, sound, and image instructs it. Your environment is either training focus or training distraction. Lighting, seating, temperature all matter. Small physical adjustments reduce friction. Every reduction preserves attention. Even placement of your devices matters. Out of sight, out of reach, not tempting. Rule 6. Create zones of attention. Dedicated areas for work, rest, and recreation. Cross-contamination weakens focus. The mind learns location-based behavior. Training is automatic. The environment becomes the first line of discipline. The mind does not argue. It responds. Your environment is either training focus or training distraction. When this principle is applied, focus is no longer fragile. It does not rely solely on willpower. It does not collapse under fatigue. It is supported automatically, predictably. You have a choice. You can accept chaos, or you can design control. Only one produces sustained attention. That's the key. In the next chapter, you will learn why daily focus is built, not felt, why consistency matters more than intensity, and how repeating small acts solidifies attention over time. Design the environment, then let focus follow. Chapter 9. Daily focus is built, not felt. Focus is not a feeling. It is not an emotional state. It is not a sudden insight. It is a skill forged through action. You don't feel focused. You act focused, and focus follows. Most people believe they must feel clarity before starting. They wait for inspiration. They wait for mood. They wait for the mental spark. This is backward. Clarity is the result, not the cause. Action produces focus, not the other way around. You have a choice. You can wait for readiness, or you can begin. Only one builds attention consistently. That's the key. Consider the routine of a writer. They sit at the desk every morning. No inspiration, no clarity, just the work. At first, the mind resists. Thoughts wander. Self-doubt rises. After 15 minutes, the mind stabilizes. Ideas flow. Focus appears. The work becomes manageable. They did not wait for feeling. They acted. Focus followed. You don't feel focused. You act focused, and focus follows. Consistency compounds. Boring, repetitive days create mental strength. Not dramatic bursts of effort. Not intense, but rare sessions. Small, disciplined actions stack. They create depth. They build tolerance for stillness and resistance. Consider a second example. A software developer programs every afternoon. No external reward. No motivation. Just the task. At first, progress is slow. The mind resists the monotony. But after weeks, the developer moves faster. Errors decrease. Focus becomes habitual. This is not luck. It is the product of repetition. You don't feel focused. You act focused, and focus follows. Most people try to shortcut this. They seek inspiration. They chase novel techniques. They rearrange environments constantly. All of it is wasted energy. The mind learns through repeated execution, not occasional brilliance. Rule 1. Show up daily. No negotiation. No conditions. Rule 2. Commit to small, repeatable actions. Short blocks of focus. Fixed tasks. Incremental progress. Rule 3. Track adherence, not output. Did you complete the session? Did you stay with one task? Success is in the act, not the result. You don't feel focused. You act focused, and focus follows. Mental clarity is delayed. The brain requires time to adapt. The nervous system consolidates attention gradually. The skill compounds silently. This is why consistency beats intensity. A long session once a week produces less capacity than daily short blocks. Repetition teaches the mind endurance. Rule 4. Respect the process. Avoid chasing immediate feelings of control. Focus is earned, not felt. Rule 5. Protect your daily structure. Disruptions dilute the effect. Small omissions compound into regression. Action builds the neural pathways. Feeling only comes after. You have a choice. You can wait for inspiration, or you can act. Only one produces sustained attention. That's the key. Daily focus is not glamorous. It is often tedious. It is repetitive. It is methodical. Boring days are the building blocks of mental strength. They accumulate silently. They compound unseen. You don't feel focused. You act focused, and focus follows. In the next chapter, you will learn why attention must be protected like a finite resource, how to say no to distractions without guilt, and why boundaries are the ultimate safeguard for sustained mental clarity. Act first. Focus follows. Chapter 10. Protect attention like a finite resource. Attention is finite. It is the most limited resource you have. More limited than time. More limited than energy. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Most people treat attention like it is infinite. They spread it across notifications, social media, meetings, and obligations. They react constantly. Every split focus costs mental depth. Every divided moment weakens capacity. You have a choice. You can allow constant leakage, or you can protect it deliberately. Only one builds clarity. That's the key. Consider a professional who accepts every meeting, every request, every message. Their day is full, but their focus is fractured. They appear busy. They accomplish little of real importance. Now consider someone who declines what does not serve their primary objective. They narrow priorities. They limit exposure. They preserve attention. Depth emerges. Decisions improve. Work becomes sharper. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Rule 1. Say no to non-essential inputs. Every time you accept distraction, you dilute focus. Every time you refuse, you reinforce attention. Rule 2. Limit exposure to media that fragments thought. Social feeds, news cycles, entertainment. If it does not contribute to your priority, it does not deserve your attention. Rule 3. Protect your daily focus windows. Treat them as non-negotiable. Do not allow interruptions. Do not negotiate with curiosity or habit. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Your environment, your habits, and your schedule all reinforce this. Attention is a system. Each decision shapes the neural pathways. Each choice compounds. Rule 4. Batch obligations. Respond at set times. Contain demands. Do not allow them to dictate your state. Rule 5. Narrow priorities relentlessly. 1 to 3 objectives at a time. Everything else waits. This is not limitation. It is leverage. Depth cannot coexist with distraction. Control requires boundaries. You don't need their permission. Not from requests. Not from trends. Not from habits you inherited. Your attention belongs to you. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Consider the long-term consequences. A distracted life trains a distracted mind. A protected life trains mental endurance. Your future self inherits what you focus on today. Every choice compounds. Every act of protection multiplies clarity. You have a choice. You can guard attention, or you can surrender it. Only one produces mastery. That's the key. Protecting attention is not passive. It is active. It is disciplined. It is non-negotiable. Rule 6. Audit daily inputs. Remove what fragments. Preserve what sustains. Repeat relentlessly. Your attention is your capital. Invest it wisely. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Now you have the tools. You understand the system. You know the rules. You have routines. Discipline is not optional. It is inevitable. If you choose to protect attention, clarity will follow. If you do not, distraction will define your life. That is the lesson. That is the framework. Subscribe now to continue building mental mastery. Each chapter, each system, each rule compounds when applied. Do not leave your focus to chance. What you give your attention to decides who you become. Make it intentional. Make it deliberate. Make it yours.